From a simple online bookstore to now a massive company that sells basically everything, plus streaming video, having grocery stores, and the most valuable of all, running a majority of the internet. In this video, we're going to look at how Amazon runs a majority of the internet and how they got to this position, and what they are planning in the future. Before we begin, as always, like and subscribe to support the channel. So how does Amazon actually control a majority of the internet? Well, it all starts with AWS, or Amazon Web Services. This is a service that Amazon offers to let people rent out servers, storage, and processing power from them. This makes it easier for companies that might not have the capability to establish their own servers. It also saves them time since they can't start hosting their own servers in fractions of the time they would if they maintained everything themselves. Also, as the company grows and their needs change, they can easily add more processing power and storage. AWS was started in 2006, when Amazon was beginning to diversify from just selling books. Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon, said the idea for AWS came from his frustration of different departments having to set up their own individual infrastructure. This was time-consuming and preventing collaboration between departments. One department could have built tools that other departments could have been using, but they just didn't know about them. They soon started selling these services to other businesses outside of Amazon. Jeff Bezos said they had such a big head start with AWS because not many services like it were around back then. Cloud computing was still a new thing, and many companies still maintain their own IT infrastructure. Microsoft Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud computing platform, did not launch until 2010. That's a 4-year head start Amazon had over their biggest competition. Amazon envisions AWS as the operating system of the internet, like you would have Windows or Mac operating system for your computer. AWS would be the underlying system that ran the internet, and I would have to say they pretty much achieved their goal. Using revenue from their e-commerce site, they quickly expanded AWS and the services it provides. They now have simple services like storage and web servers, to more complex AI services that anybody can use, from a single developer wanting to learn or a Fortune 500 company. You would think that big companies have the resources to build out their own infrastructure. This might be true, but to build an IT infrastructure that can handle millions of people each day is expensive and takes a lot of time to develop and manpower to maintain. Also, it is a never-ending task. As you grow, you have to keep up and keep expanding your infrastructure. Netflix is one of AWS's biggest customers, as their whole platform is built off of AWS. This just shows you how much data AWS can really handle, as Netflix has millions of people each day streaming high-definition videos all at the same time, which takes a lot of processing power. Even their payment system is handled through AWS, which is another example of how flexible AWS really is. Other big-name companies that use AWS are Airbnb, Uber, ESPN, Twitter, and even Facebook, with all their in-house infrastructure, still uses AWS for some things. AWS now began to even work with the government to host their infrastructure. The CIA and NASA are now using AWS, and Amazon is bidding on more government contracts to host more of their services. So how much does AWS control the internet? Well, AWS controls almost 50% of cloud computing market, which is 3 times its next biggest competitor, which is Microsoft, with a little over 15% market share. If you measure total bandwidth of the internet that AWS handles, it's around 50% of all internet traffic. This figure might be a little inflated because Netflix bandwidth can spike up to almost 40% of all internet bandwidth being used, and Netflix uses AWS for all its services. But this still shows you how much the internet truly relies on AWS. With such a big market share, AWS has brought in so much revenue that it is now worth more than Amazon's e-commerce site, and brought in $26 billion in 2018. But with the internet so heavily reliant on AWS, it can cause a major issue when AWS goes down. We have already seen this. In 2015, AWS went down, and so did Amazon, Netflix, IBM, Tinder, and Megadata, all going down with it for a few hours. Amazon has recently been called a monopoly, especially AWS. The EU is now looking into if Amazon is truly a monopoly, since they have stricter monopolistic laws in Europe. If this is the case, we might see AWS break apart into its own separate company that is no longer associated with Amazon, or even break up AWS itself with more regional-based cloud computing providers like they did with the breakup of AT&T. Amazon has not only been criticized for its monopolistic tendencies, but also has been criticized for using open source software. Open source software is a type of software which the source code is released and anyone is free to use and change that software. Amazon has been criticized for using open source software, repackaging it, and selling it as a service on AWS, which undercuts the original creators of that software. People have said that it takes too much from open source software while not giving back enough. The biggest case of this is with the software called Elasticsearch, which is an analytics and search tool. The original creators of Elasticsearch are suing Amazon for trademark infringement and false advertising in connection with Amazon's release of their AWS Elasticsearch. Amazon has plans to keep expanding AWS by building more data centers around the globe. With over 65 data centers already, they plan to add another 9 availability zones. They also have plans to roll out a service that lets companies still use AWS features, even if they want to have in-house infrastructure. This is important for sensitive data such as hospital records and government servers, which need to be in a secure facility but still want the flexibility of AWS. With AWS continuing to grow and expand, we might soon see a future where Amazon not only sells everything, but also runs everything. And with that being said, as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to see more.